Alright, it's now time for raising funds for World Domination, day 150. So for the typical intro, we got the next rent eviction hearing coming up on the 6th of October, almost exactly 2 weeks away. The last version of the terminal block mining game that was released on September 10th. The last major video I did was released September 14th. Since then I did a follow-up commentary, and my current goal is going to be to try and create some much faster to produce like follow-up commentary videos. The last couple days I've had a bunch of errands to run, so I haven't been able to get as much progress done in that. The next commentary video I think I'll do it's going to be like on the taxes and the accounting stuff, which is a necessary thing that you'll have to think about if you do a business. Today I was almost going to start the recording for that next video, but then I realized today that one of the major reasons I don't do a lot of those much simpler like voiceover commentary screen record videos is because I still do not have a good setup for actually doing that recording, because despite how many computers I have my main laptop that's the newest and the most expensive. The fan on it is so blaringly loud that even when I put it in the special power mode, it's so loud I can't really record with it. So I have an older one that I can do. That's actually what I do the streaming from. But the issue is, and I have used that, it works, but the issue is when I do the screen record, I have to open it, I have to open OBS, and then I have to change the OBS settings to the screen record. So I have to like delete and merge the layers and stuff like that. And so then that breaks the stream setup. So that if I want to continue the streaming, then I basically have to reset up the entire UI for OBS every single time I open it, which is waste a lot of time. And I feel like and it's never simple. It always like forgets like the place it puts the camera and the screen capture to like swap them, and then I have to like change the resolution and go back and forth and stuff. So today I think I figured out I had a really old laptop. I tried recording for that today, and it is I think too old, so it can't support the resolution. Then I tried to go into xrandr and add some more screen resolutions, and anyway, that didn't work. So I think what I'll do, I'm just going to dual boot the streaming laptop, and then I think that'll allow me to preserve the OBS settings. And then I just, whichever one I'm doing, I boot into the applicable applicable OS. I guess the other update is Shopify, the Shopify store. So I set up the Shopify store just to experiment with seeing how many sales that would generate. I think now there's total of 91 sessions, so 91 people have looked at the store. I made one sale of my $1 item to add a new block type to the game. And so I doubled the price of the next item. I just have one of my old sticker packs from a past Kickstarter campaign that has generated, well, as of yesterday, 26 clicks and no sales. So seems like the conversion rate for the store is going to be pretty low. I didn't expect it to be a huge win anyway, but it's interesting to collect more data on what works and what doesn't. Yeah, the other thing on the to-do list is recycle some old live stream clips, which I've not made any progress in that. Other than that, I'm going to continue continue now working on the block mining simulation game. So the last release, I did a lot of work to completely refactor the terminal, the actual like screen layer updating, and the next thing I'm going to work toward why the content on business and life you prefer not to make programming content like tutorials. It's very original. When I do the live streams, a lot of people ask me for like the general life advice stuff. So I guess it's kind of a it's a different audience, but it also, I have to be considerate of the total addressable market for a video. So if I do a video on like ZFS, I'd like to do more niche videos like that, on like how to do this or that in ZFS, or videos like my I have like a video on what causes bit flips in memory, and then I have a video on like debugging a bit flip in memory and root causing it. And those videos took a massive amount of time, but they probably produced like I spent weeks on those, and they make like $20 in revenue. Whereas there's, I think, a substantially broader audience for more just like general advice. Like I think the job one, that'll probably do well over a long period of time. Where we beat the game, I was off for 3 weeks. So the latest on the game is the so for the longest time, for like 60 or 70 days or something, I was working on refactoring the screen layer merging. So the where it came from was in the previous release, I had like 6 different functions with different bugs that were inefficient, and like printing the updates out to the screen for the different frames. And currently, I finished all that refactoring work. I did a new release, and I was able to merge together all six of those layer merging functions into one function that does everything, and it also has some features to like make layers relocatable easily, and lots of just optimizations to make it faster to implement new features. And I completed that and tested it, and that was released on September 10. So the latest good release of it was released September 10. Now, compared to this version to the last version, there's basically no new functionality or features. Actually, there is only one perceptible difference, which is the player character. There's support for like transparency under the player character. So that was actually another thing that kind of motivated the massive amount of refactoring work, was things like having like a layer transparency thing that actually worked and was not full of bugs. Refactoring and optimization. Yeah, the latest going from the version 0.07 to 0.008 is there's no new features. I think I added a couple of block types or something, but it's basically the same game entirely. But the layer merging is massively refactored, and there's a ton of the game looks basically the same, but there's a ton of thought put into how to actually do updates. And I think for the next little while, so what are we at? So for now, I think I'll continue working on, I guess, version 0.0.9. Today's spell recipes. Recipe is always one of those words I can't spell. Yeah, so then the next thing I'm going to work toward is crafting recipes. Yeah, so the next major thing to develop is going to be some support for like kind of generic crafting recipes. So people had mentioned all sorts of being able to make. I was thinking you could make paper with titanium dioxide and wood. And you could even, as more block types get added, there's lots of, like right now there's really not much to do in the game. But I think with, like, adding new block types is incredibly easy. And if it's also possible to add recipes, which there's only like 3 recipes and they're just like an if-else statement. But if there's a general, like, system to add new recipes, then I think that could make, that could just actually open up a lot more playable content that makes it a bit closer to an actual game. I mentioned before the probably one of the next major things I'd like to add is multiplayer support, but that'll probably also take an enormous amount of time to get an actual public-facing multiplayer support. RECIPS. I got RECIPS. Yeah, I think I got it right. Do you ever plan on using more artsy assets in the future? Yes, it's definitely possible. Or will you just make do with programmer art? Yeah, I think in the long term it would be interesting to see. I plan to keep the model quite simple. So it'll be like just a everything in the game will be blocks. So the blocks in basically a matrix like universe. And I think I'm probably initially anyway. I think like even like entities like mobs and stuff will also just be a block in the game, so they discretely occupy like a given area, and that basically means like no two things could occupy the same place, but it would kind of drastically simplify lots of like it would mean that if you wanted to go to a more sophisticated rendering engine, it would just be much simpler to support something like that, because you could just that way like the rendering engine for blocks, like if you wanted to make a 3D what's it called in orthographic, what's the I forget the name, isometric tile rendering, is that what it's called, of like when you have the kind of 2D tile but like 3D like kind of like above ground view that you see in like real-time strategy games. If you wanted to make one of those, if the entities themselves are interpreted just as like standard blocks, I think that would make the process of implementing stuff like that much easier and faster. Isometric, yeah. Yeah, and then I think like, longer term, you could also, if you wanted to get more sophisticated so that like entities can, you could have multiple entities on a block, you could have like some more sophisticated, like a block can be anything. So it could be a sophisticated JSON object or something, but that's too far in the future to think about. You can just use peer-to-peer for multiplayer. Yeah, I would like to, that's probably what I'll do after I add support for the like crafting recipes and stuff, because then I guess I can, once I have like a recipe system, then I can work on the multiplayer stuff. I can make progress on it, but then I can still add new content by just, adding a recipe, like adding a block, adding an arbitrary block type to the game now. It's a very simple thing. It's just add some stuff to a file. And if the same thing is true of recipes, if there's an actual recipe adding system, then then it becomes much easier and faster to actually release new content. Block game for your computer. Yes, indeed. How much would a license to use your terminal game TY engine cost? That's a good question. I don't know, I guess I could open up the possibility of like a commercial license for game engine development or something. I don't know if I actually get more questions about that, then maybe I'd have to investigate or think more deeply. Do you have the funds to host a server? Seems expensive. Would you do AI, or maybe you can have a lot of players on at the same time? We'll have to see. We'll have to see how far I get. For hosting a server, I don't think hosting a server would be that expensive. Like I have some servers and stuff for like my website and stuff. I think like for the amount of data that this uses, like to support probably like 20 players or something, I can't imagine it would cost like more than, probably like less than $10 a month to host the actual server. If I got like, if there's like thousands of players, I guess it also depends on, there's also a whole bunch of, like a lot of work that I would have to do for multiplayer would also be stuff like rate limiting and like things to detect like the error conditions and stuff. Like if someone's client gets bugged out and they start like sending 10,000 messages a second or something, I need to like rate limit that. Around here, for you, cost 900 to co-locate. 900 a month. For you, I'm not sure what. That's a server type, I guess. I mean, you could just host something like this on. I don't know. I have to look into it. I would. I think. Well, that's another aspect of like, I don't know how. I don't know how much work it would. Like, I'm sure once I dig into it, there's probably a whole can of worms of stuff to support. But to host it, I would probably think about trying to put the endpoint on like Amazon's cloud service. So there's, I think you can use Amazon. well, I'd have to also look into the pricing and stuff for it, but you can do Amazon's API gateway. I think API gateway can support sockets. So I'd probably host it like as a WebSockets thing. Because that also would allow me to do like, I would have access to like web enterprise scale web application firewalls and stuff. So if I get DDoSed, because I assume eventually I'd get some kind of DDoS attack or something like that, and if I can't protect against that, then it would just keep coming back. So those kinds of things, like the flow control. Yeah, it's just lots and lots of little details to figure out. With payloads sent by this game, it won't be expensive. Sure, clever with it. It can cost nothing. Yeah, I think that's correct. It's yeah, I mean, I could also, I think likely what I would also do is maybe have some kind of have some also like rate limiting on the chunk generation and stuff too. So if there's one player that just like flies around and tries to generate all the chunks, it would kind of like get a bit slower or something. Have some kind of system to kind of throttle that a bit. Would you be open to having it on Steam? Maybe people there would be interested in this game. Possibly. I guess I said before it probably won't ever be on Steam, but I don't know if there's a small fan base that's interested in it, then I think if it can develop, if it can bring in revenue on its own, then maybe it would be worth actually putting it on Steam, because it would just, like, if there's a market that exists off Steam, then putting it on Steam would just like amplify that. Have you done computer networks, I2, I3 work in your career? It's at L. I can't see. Is it I2 or L2? Probably L2. I worked. I did a couple internships at Amazon Web Services. We did a bunch of. I had to think about a lot of networking stuff there. Actually, I don't know the definitions of L2 and L3. I know, but it's like application and IP. I do have experience, like I have built a fairly high one of the consulting gigs that I did. If you watch some of my other consulting related videos, one of the consulting gigs I did was processing packets for a bunch of like IoT modules. So we had a centralized server to process packets from all these devices, and one of the things I did was to migrate it and make some changes to it so it could support upwards of like I think, I can't remember the max we had. It was more than 1,500 simultaneous connections with at once with all the different devices that were out there. And then we had some really difficult issues where we had these strange communication bugs with some of them, and then I had to run a bunch of packet traces on the production server and debug. What it turned out was there was a connection timeout inside of like the network address, the translation, the port mapping that our internet service provider was using, and then we kept asking the ISP if they were doing that. And then they kept saying that they weren't. And then we kept saying like, well, we're seeing this thing. And then we went back and forth, and then like, oh yeah, I guess we do. And that wasted a lot of time. Yeah, so I've done some of that stuff. I've done enough of it to know that it's difficult, and there's probably like at least a few, like to go from some to kind of toy application that a couple of people use to like an actual production system. I'm sure there's at least a few things that I'll encounter if I get there. So last night I did some work to. One of the first things I want to add is a new UI, a new feature in the help menu, so I can actually change the orientation of the splits. Because that'll be necessary for testing the new list menu thing. Any idea how the tech startup scene looks like these days in Toronto area? I'm not really sure, actually. To be honest, I've kind of I've retracted a bit from it. My perspective over the last 10 years was when I graduated, 2015. I graduated in summer of 2014. That's when I started my business, looking for consulting leads and stuff. And it was, things were kind of, we were still in the zero interest rate era. Things were great. There was tons of like events. There was a lot of like, excitement and activity in the air. I started around 2015, 15, 16. There was like kind of fits and starts. There was times when I was like, are we going into recession? And then I'd get another contract. And there was always something on the horizon. Then 2019, that's when I thought things were going to be really great. And that's when I ended up getting into a pretty low quality contract that wasted a lot of my time. Didn't pay some invoices. So I think, prior 2019 or so, I think for other people, things were pretty good. And it was actually, a lot of that was in 2018 when I first started that. And then it was 2019. It was, I remember the company stuck me for a bunch of money, and it was 2 weeks. It was like a long drawn process over like a couple of years where I thought they like tried to restart the company, and I thought I might be able to get some money out of these people because they owed me like 20 grand. And then it was about like, it was actually 2 weeks before we declared a pandemic that was when I kind of got a closure that I was like, oh, okay, this company is totally done, and they're never going to pay anything. And then COVID happened. Then the COVID money actually brought a bunch of liquidity. Some of my contract stuff picked up again. Did get a few leads. The issue though is the in-person scene completely died off. And then, so I before that I for a while I actually hosted some meetups on meetup.com. And for a while that did seem like a kind of, mixed hit and miss. I did make some leads out of doing that. And then I think the last time I checked, the last time I really seriously looked for like meetups and stuff around, there kind of really wasn't any. Like there was evidence that people were like trying to like get the momentum back from the post-COVID era. But I remember there was one like tech hub around here, and they hosted one meetup event, and I was like, maybe I should go to that, and I forgot about it. And I'm like, I'll go to the next one. And then I kept coming back to check their calendar, and they hosted like one meetup event, and then I kept going. I guess I should probably check back, but it kind of seemed like I don't know. There's a bit of a catch-22. Like no one was doing events, so it's kind of hard to get them bootstrapped. But I guess eventually the momentum will come back. I think the issue though is that the world is changing so much in so many different ways. I'm sure something will we just need like a critical mass of people in one place to kind of get the energy back. I think at the University of Waterloo they have someone was telling it, there's I don't even remember what the name of it was, but it was like like a builders club or something like that. Yeah, I think anything. Let's see, I'll catch up on chats. You graduated when I started my bachelor. Yeah. Hey Robert, on which circumstances and variables would you join a VC-funded early tech startup? On which circumstances and variables would you join a VC-funded early tech startup? I guess the question there is like, would I join as an early employee or someone taking equity in the company? I think those are very different questions. So if you're a co-founder, to be like an early co-founder who's like taking equity in the company and like being involved in, operational decisions and being involved with the fundraising and stuff. I would only do that if the people I was doing it with I knew very, very well, and I had like lots of experience working directly with them. So there's people like when in school, there's a small group of people that I used to do projects with, and we were in a lot of the same classes, and we'd all, they were kind of my crew who I would, I've been in the trenches with them before, so I know how these people respond under stress, and I know that they have the stamina to work a lot. But I also know a lot about like their personality related to are they someone who always wants to think safe? Do they have the right kind of risk appetite? What are their kind of philosophical views on things like that? So the only circumstance I would be co-founders with people like that is if I had that kind of close relationship, or even like I don't have any close family members who are in tech, but like if I had a family member who I'd grown up with and had a close relationship with, that would maybe that might be one reason. But only if I'd like already known the people for many years. I know there's some people that go to like founder dating events and stuff where they just try to like meet up with randoms and start a company, and I really that's the results would be just that. They'd be very random. If you get paired up with someone who is if by chance you luck out, but you're also putting your hands very much, your feet very much in the hands of a random number generator, because if the person, like if you just pick a random person, most likely like that person is probably gonna like I looking back over the last 10 years, there's lots of people that I saw who would post on Facebook and they're like, hey guys, I'm happy to announce I'm doing this startup. And they'd announce it, and they have like a logo and stuff. I'm like, oh, cool, another entrepreneur. And then, like 4 months later, I would see they're like, I'm proud to announce that I've accepted a job at Facebook. And I was like, wow, that didn't last very long. So that's going to be the most likely outcome, is people will kind of peter out. And I guess the other end of it is if you're one of the first few employees. At that point, I would kind of just treat it like the question, like if it's a regular company, if they're paying a decent amount, and if it's something that I'm interested in, like you can go work there for a year or something, and then like it's possible you're getting on a rocket ship. If you're an early founder, if you're an early employee and you get like a few % of equity or something, you could treat the value as nothing. But then if you go there and it seems like the company's really, the people have their head screwed on, the founders have their head screwed on right, then there's a chance that early equity might actually convert into something, and it might especially if you want to do a business of your own, you would learn way more as an early employee at one of those companies than if you work at like a big corporate, because a corporate, you just have a very specific myopic role. But if you started a startup that's like 5 people, you're going to hear about marketing decisions, sales decisions, and all kinds of stuff. Trust is king. Yeah, I think trust. Maybe not even just trust, but like also kind of just like certainty about the person's like temperament and behavior. Like there's some people who I went to school with who I would say I trust them. They're trustworthy people, but I would not want to start a business with them because I know like they're, they've maybe too much anxiety to do a business, or it's like it's just they're not psychologically wired for it. And like if you ask them, would you like to start a business? They would probably tell you like, nope, don't want to do that. Like marrying a few days a week after 1 or 2 dates. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe even more of a commitment than that. Because for, if you marry someone, there's like lots of, I don't know, there's lots of variability, and like, I mean, you can marry someone and then agree to, how your finances are going to be and stuff like that. And you can like just say, okay, we'll write down how much we put down in this house, and like you can have prenups, and so like the breakup, you can go into a relationship with a plan so that if it goes south, then it's going to be, the breakup is not going to be that difficult. But whereas if it's a business and there's like massive amounts of risk and uncertainty, and there's millions of dollars in the line, and you have employees, so you're discussing things that relate to the fates of many other people. If you have like 3 or 4 co-founders, like you can be in really difficult situations. Like let's say you have a co-founder and the co-founder's parents get sick. This is probably a common story. The co-founder takes like 2 weeks off or something to like, be with their sick relative or whatever. And then everyone's like, okay, so, we got your back. It's not a big deal, but you can come back and then work really hard. And then 2 weeks goes by, they come back, but they're not as, they're not doing as much work, and they're like, hey, sorry, I'll get better, I'll do more work. And then they start doing like less and less work, and then you get kind of depressed, and then you have a talk with them, and then they're like, oh, sorry, I'll do better. And then they improve for 1 week, and then they go back to old habits, and then it's like they're kind of slowly becoming less and less, they're pulling their weight less and less. Now you have this difficult decision, like what do you do? Do you like do some kind of movie like thing to squeeze out their equity, or do you a million variables that can go on there. And if you have 3 or 4, every additional co-founder you have like a combinatorial number of extra risks that you have to think about, where like what there might be some difficult interpersonal thing with that person. You're looking for startups of someone we've known for a while, looking for founders who are in it for the long run. Yeah, honestly, like I think a lot of the people who I have known, who I would even consider starting a business with, most of them are also pretty like independent minded, and unless we kind of I don't know, had the exact same if we had the exact same ambition to go into the exact same kind of niche of technology at the same time, like if there's people I knew who were like really into Bitcoin back in the days, like if I got the Bitcoin fever at the same time as those people, then maybe I could have joined forces with some of those people. But I don't know. There's also just a lot of there's a lot of value in just being independent. It's raining really hard out. Hopefully my internet doesn't cut out. My internet died a little while ago. Partner with people who have a track record of success with partners. Yeah, that's one option. But then again, it's, I don't know, the higher the higher the stakes and the more speculative things are, the more kind of interpersonal risk there is. Ideally, I mean, there's a whole I mean, business is difficult. It's not only difficulties with products and customers and technology aspect, but also the interpersonal stuff is within the arena of business. There's so many people who also kind of there's people who are like total fakes, and then there's some people who are like kind of fakes, where they managed to accomplish something, but it was more like out of luck than anything, and so they do have some like real success. But I mean, I'd be kind of rambling trying to go through examples, but there's just watch like any documentaries about business and stuff, about all the shenanigans that happen. Go through, watch that movie, The Social Network, I think it was. And actually, honestly, I mean, the best way to encapsulate the most amount of information is, I think the show Silicon Valley is probably a good, in my opinion, is a very good like cross section and implementation, interpretation of like the types of personalities that you should expect to meet. If you walk around, if you just meet some random person at a grocery store, most people will not be like kind of like an eccentric person, like a character from the show Silicon Valley. But many of the actual people in Silicon Valley, the like people who are all looking for co-founders and starting companies and stuff, there'll be like some random sampling of characters from that show. and from that, like there's like, if you think about people from that show, who's someone on that show you would want to start a business with. Some of them would probably, and like some of them are complicated figures. Some of them are people who they have a lot of good traits, and then they'll betray people, and it's hard to specify in a few words, which is why you can make a whole multi-season show about it. a great night. Nice, we got a new channel member. Welcome to Old Bays, to the student here. Nice. Got a super chat. $10. World Domination fundraiser. Losing my voice. World Domination fundraiser going since 1940s. 88. Long live the dream. Excellent. Thank you very much. Actually, I'm not sure what currency that is. Is that a? Oh, it can't be. Is it a South African currency? All right, I think I'm going to have to pass along the root split ID. thunder outside. Do Dukiop Bias says, yo, in capital letters, very enthusiastic. Yo. Yeah, I guess that says my eyes are not the best. Yep, 88. I wasn't sure if it's 68 or 88, but 88. Yeah, it's kind of amazing how like the internet is on one hand the internet is like a toxic place, and there's a lot of spam and bots and stuff like that, but then there's also in a way it's kind of like an endearing place, how you can have people of any age, and how you can have like 12-year-olds who argue with like sitting US senators on Twitter. I don't know. I'm going to still be alive at 88, let alone still trying to dominate the world. Yeah, 88, that's a pretty good age. Life expectancy is decreasing now. That's not cool. I thought I wanted it to go up forever. But I guess that's not in store for our generation. I mean, everybody has long COVID too. That's going to shorten our lifespans. Health sucks, and I can't afford proper health care. So I'm dying young. Yeah. There's a lot of people in that boat. '88 brother might mean something completely else. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess now that you mention that, I could imagine. I don't know exactly what that means, but oh, something edgy. Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, that would probably make more sense. But then again, I don't know. I'm not familiar enough with that. Those memes. It's hard to. I guess if it's in a super chat, one would have to assume that it's more likely to be troll, some kind of troll or something like that. But then again, there are people from all walks of life that donate. Hey, my favorite Linux guy. How you been? Not too bad. Just I released a new version of the block mining simulation game about 11 days ago. Been working on making new videos. Now I'm moving on to I'm gonna work on some stuff to actually get new features out into the game. And otherwise, just, standard world domination activities. Dukyop Bias sends $5 Australian. That's not a troll, though. That's an honest, sincere super chat. Keep going. We're cheering for it. Excellent. Supporters. Stop it? No. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going until I take over the world. I showed up late. What's he coding? I'm working on a terminal-based video game where you can simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore. in an infinite, procedurally generated universe. What type of laptop do you have? I have a couple of different laptops. So the altogether I have 3 laptops that I use. So there's this one in front of me is actually a crappy old laptop, and the main laptop I use is a ThinkPad, which I regret buying because it has a bunch of hardware issues. And then the streaming, the actual one that's doing the stream, is over there. Can you send me one? I'll do another $5 super chat. Send you a laptop for $5? I don't know if that's it's not a good deal. Was thinking of buying a ThinkPad. Yeah, I've heard great things about ThinkPads. Actually, I think I've complained at length about the issues with my ThinkPad. It's by far the worst. It has so many. The main problem with it is the fan is constantly spinning at maximum temperature, how long ago did I buy it? I think it was in 2021 or something. And it's the like thermal management on it is really bad. Like it's constantly on the maximum speed, and it has the newest version of Ubuntu. You can do like the power management settings, so I can go into the power management, and then I can click like low power saver, whatever, and then that spins the fan down. But even when if I try to do stuff with it, like if I try to open a web browser, it becomes insanely slow. And it's actually pretty remarkable. Like my other laptop that's literally like almost, it's about 6 years older. It's a 6-year older laptop. It is remarkably faster than the ThinkPad. And so the one that I bought, it's over 10 years old now. That one is faster. It makes less noise, and I paid $1,400 for it. And the ThinkPad I paid like $2,300. And the problem is, so the fan constantly spins at max speed, so it wears out fast. And actually, this is the first laptop I've ever had where I had to buy a replacement fan, because when the fan wears out, it does this massive grinding noise, and it's like it's not really usable. And because I think probably because the fans wear out, it's almost impossible to buy replacement fans, because they're all to buy a new one is completely sold out. So I bought like one off eBay, and it was supposed to be a new in-box fan, and they're quite expensive. So it's not actually just a fan. You have to buy this whole like the thermal assembly. So it's like the fan is right in, you have to buy like the metal heat pipes and stuff that come with it. And it was supposed to be new. I got it. Actually, the first one I bought it. They waited 1 week, then they said we don't have one. And they refunded it. So I bought another one, and it took like 5 weeks in shipping. And when I got it, it was used, and one of the like little heat pad thing, it's not an actual just fan. It's a whole like assembly with pads and stuff. So it was all used. There was like used solder paste on it and stuff. They got everywhere. And then I tried again to buy a new one, and then they said actually we don't have one in stock, and then they just took the listing off. And then I bought yet another one. So this is the fourth one that I bought. It was supposed to be new, and I got it. It was also another used one. So I do have it. I just saved it as a backup. But it's extreme. It was, and they're like it's like $120 or something for the replacement fan. So yeah, that whole ordeal is and you have to put like solder paste on it and stuff. It's not like installing a regular, like a desktop fan. It's basically, you're doing surgery on your laptop. And it also has whenever I boot it up, it comes up with this it has this horrible feature where it comes up and says like bottom cover tamper protection error detected, and then I have to press escape, and it does this loud beeping noise if I don't have the headphone jack plugged in. It's really awful. Like, there's a couple times when I turn it on late at night, and I forget to put the headphone jack in it, and then there's this loud beeping noise that I can't turn off. So it's yeah, it's a lot. I have I don't think it's an exaggeration to say it's the worst laptop I've ever bought. Now, having said that, I bought it because ThinkPads have a good reputation. I think older ThinkPads are the good ones, but it's sometime after the pandemic they, at least, I don't know, maybe they'll turn around in the future, but I will probably try to avoid ThinkPad in the future, or at least I'll do a lot of research on that specific model. And it also has a ton of issues. It has a bunch of bugs with NVIDIA drivers, and also I had hardware issues with the SD card reader. So I put the SD card in, and actually, if you go watch one of my videos on printing on Linux, there's a scene in the first few minutes of it where like the video glitches. There's like corruption in the video, and that's because I copied the file using the SD card reader in this computer, and it had a weird bug where it would just randomly zero out pages if you're copying things in. And I did a bunch of tests. I even bought, I thought it was the SD card that was a problem, so I bought a new SD card and I did a whole bunch of proof checking and stuff. And then eventually I bought a USB SD card reader, and that worked perfectly. And I was able to reproduce it with a lot of certainty that it was from the SD card reader on the laptop. Similar with mine, used a year or two newer. Specs not that great. Apple Silicon laptops are basically silent now and no heat. Yeah, that's becoming, I guess, especially because I do video recording now, that's becoming my like number one. Like I would pay a lot of extra money if that was a feature where I could like say absolutely zero fans, just not have. And the problem with fans is they wear out. I don't want moving parts in my computer. I would pay a lot of extra money to get rid of them. If I ever buy a PC again, I'll have to splurge to avoid these annoying fan issues. Maybe buy a framework laptop. Never seen one in real life. Yeah, actually, I was today. I was almost thinking of buying another laptop or something, because I have like, even though I have 3 laptops, I have nothing that I can record with, because this one is too slow. That one there is way too loud. So I can't have the microphone close to it because it's just too loud. And the other one there, the old one, is good, but it's if I use it for streaming, then I have to reconfigure OBS, and so every time I do either recording or streaming, I have to completely reset the OBS. But I think the solution I came up with today is just to dual boot, to have 2 installs on it instead of and just switch between them. That'll probably work. ThinkPad was owned by IBM. They sold to Lenovo 2007. Maybe it's been crap since then. I think, from what I understand, I think it's one of those things that was a fatality of COVID. I think pre-COVID they were good, and then someone said that there was some switchover date where like they were something changed in their manufacturing, and it was around the COVID era. Probably the greatness of ThinkPads are behind us. Finally bought one for myself, and I'm not a fan. No pun intended. Lots of activity today. Yeah, I guess I'm on a bit longer, so it's I'll probably try to get back to some longer streams. Framework is good, although I suggest buy the most baseline version and upgrade your SSD and RAM separately. They do charge a bit high for storage RAM. Yeah, I would imagine the computer business is pretty competitive these days. I would imagine the margins are not very good. Like to actually run one of those companies and make money, it would be difficult. I was thinking about buying a laptop. Maybe I shouldn't bother. They all sound unreliable. That's the problem. Everything is garbage these days. Just wanted one so I don't have to rush home from work. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of wonder if maybe buying used stuff might be good. It used to be, you could just buy whatever's the latest and greatest, but I haven't had to buy one in a while. It seems like there's a whole new jungle of things to learn about. I have to watch some Linus Tech Tips videos to get up to date. What is the most complex thing you've programmed? I guess it depends on what you mean by complex. Because there's certain things that are tedious and long, and then there's other things that are extremely like where the result is not very long, but it's an extremely short and dense thing. Some of mine more like academic, technical things. If you Google search for visualization of Meyer's diff algorithm, that was fairly that was I think basically like a new variant of the Meyer's diff algorithm that I came up with that makes it slightly faster in certain obscure cases. I also made an interactive visualization for visualizing regular expressions. That's also on my blog. If you type in like regular expression visualizer, you'll get to my blog. I don't know. I'm not sure where it was ranked. It used to be on the first page, but It's not number one. Almost want to only spend on principle these days. CEO of Framework seems like a good guy. So considering buying one, just to support the business. Yeah, I think that's going to be increasingly important. Like even if it's a bit more expensive, if you're actually like, contributing to building a world that we can live in, because saving a little bit to buy something that's some Orwellian spyware-filled thing that's about extracting maximum value. So how are you going to dominate the world? Or is it just some attention-grabbing name for the stream? So the specific plans... I should update that in the description. So the specific plans... I have a video on my channel called My Plans for World Domination. If you go to my channel, I have all the specifics of the plan. Everything cheap is unreliable. But reliable things, prices have gotten way out of hand. Yeah, I haven't really priced a lot of that stuff in a while. I would imagine like in the past, like inflation had gone up a bit and the price didn't go up much because it was, if inflation surges 5%, a lot of people they'll just let it eat into their margins. But I would imagine things have adjusted now and gotten incredibly expensive. In case you haven't heard of Framework, yeah, I have actually. I was on there. I was actually thinking maybe I should look into buying one today. Meant to be extensible, modular. Yeah, that would be awesome. Like it'd be great if you're not just like fighting against it, because with that Lenovo fan, like it's clear they don't want people to replace that. Yeah, but for the Zoomer generation, can't you do a summary of the main principles for world domination? I guess I probably should do a shorts video. Maybe I'll do one of those someday. Do you believe the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply past galaxy-sized objects, considering the laws of existence and physics are relative to the subject experiencing them? Entropy only applies at lower scales, not higher. I can't see how that would be true. I don't have my laws of thermodynamics memorized. Is that the second law of thermodynamics? Is that in fact the one about entropy? I mean, if it applies in like human scale, then it applies at 2 times human scale, and it applies at 4 times human scale, and it applies at like if you just keep going up, then certainly it still applies. It just means it's going to take up probably a much higher time scale. I don't know, that sounds like a very metaphysical question that's based on flawed assumptions. I'd go for like an induction-based way of looking at it. I mean, like based on our current understanding of physics, it seems like pretty logical that if you just make some reference frame that's where it does apply, you just double the size of that, then it applies at any reference frame. But if there's like undiscovered physics, you need some new. Like it could be that at galaxy there's the entropy exists, but also there's some other thing that opposes entropy, and it applies at much higher scales. And that the combination of both of those things means that at low scales you see entropy and you don't see the other force or whatever, but then at higher scales you see some different behavior. But I'm not a physicist. Yes, extension of it does apply within the closed systems, smaller than a galaxy, but because of the lack of matter and time difference in between them, the reference frame is closed off. I guess if you to talk about that, you're getting into like questions of like I know in the models of the expansion of the universe, there's like nothing can go faster than the speed of light, but like empty space can expand faster than light. So I don't know and understand what the cutting edge physics is on that stuff. I mean, if you take I think if you just go for like a classical physics, like Newtonian physics or something, then the answer would be it applies. Entropy just applies at all scales. If there's some sort of like novel, undiscovered thing related to zero point energy or something, but again, I'm not a physicist. I'd watch go watch what's her name, Sabina Hassenfelder. Go watch every video on her channel, and then you might get some ideas. What's your take on this? Talk about how we're living in a simulation. If you already commented on this. my opinion on the like living in a simulation thing is, I think people get more excited than they need to about it. Actually, like I would say my experience in like writing like an emulator that's capable of like emulating itself gave me this kind of like writing emulators and compilers that can like run inside of themselves. It gave me this realization that like at some point, like you could say that what we're in right now, this is not real. It's not the real reality. Or it's some holodeck or something. It's somehow like inauthentic, or it's there's something like kind of sad about the fact that everything is smoke and mirrors or something. That's I think the perception at the heart of this idea about the simulation theory. But in reality, at some level, there is a real reality, which you can. I mean, Rene Descartes figured that out with the famous "I think, therefore I am." So it doesn't matter how many levels deep you go. Like even if we're 10 levels nested in a virtual machine, there is some reality out there somewhere. And in my opinion, it's not really like it's possible that the inputs and senses are like distorted. You're sensing something that's maybe there's like if you're like inside of a tube or something, and there's like probes stimulating your brain or something like that inside to simulate this reality. Those electrical signals to facilitate that simulation, those are real. So something out there is real, and whether we're seeing some like some very like nested interpretation of it, like there's real electrons out there. If we exist inside of a computer, there are actual physical electrons out there controlling the bit states somewhere. She's awesome. Yes, she is. I discovered when her channel was quite a bit smaller. There's I really like her. I very much agree with her interpretation of a lot of stuff and issues with the academic world. Also, background radiation provides entropy. Applies at large scale. Yeah, the all the stuff about like 0-point energy and actually I think it was Sabina. In the last few days, there was something, I can't remember exactly what it was. It was some kind of novel observation about 0-point energy, which was made even recently. But that stuff is very cutting edge in it. Like there's all kinds of like, I mean, it touches on the uncertainty principle, where you can like borrow matter slightly from the future to create a virtual particle, but only within the uncertainty principle, so you can't observe it. And simulation is not Sims. It's more akin to cultivating mushrooms. You won't control it, but it's still enjoyable to watch when time isn't a factor. I don't know. I'm gonna call that pretty close to nonsense. How skilled do you have to be to break into dark websites with only a login page in order to shut them down? I don't know anything about dark web stuff. I don't visit those places. There's nothing that I am interested in there. Who is that person? Can someone spell out her name? Yep, that's her. Yeah, if you haven't seen her YouTube channel, she's strongly recommend checking her out. Oh, thank you for the super chat, Catface. Catface asked a question about dark web hacking. Yeah, I'm not really sure about how skilled. Oh, there's a plane going by. How skilled do you have to be to break into dark websites? I guess it really depends on who's hosting the site. It's a very open-ended question. You could probably apply the same question to regular websites. If you only have a login page, I mean, if the page has an obvious bug in it, it could be as simple as like if you look at like most basic SQL injection. That's an example of like a really basic hack that existed everywhere years ago. But it can also be like a million times more complicated than that. Wow, it works. I expected it to crash. Nice. That's what it looks like when you have a sophisticated UI that actually works. Amazing. That's excellent. Do you trust today's encryption enough to put sensitive data encrypted with AES-256 on USB? Drop it on the street? I guess it. I mean, it depends. Depends how good the key is, and it depends. It depends what the data is and stuff. I guess it depends on. I assume that like probably, the NSA could decrypt that stuff. I think most likely they can probably, like within a certain. Well, I don't know. It's I'd be 50-50 on it. I mean, it depends on so many factors. I would assume like government agencies, like if a government agency can afford to spend $1 million to decrypt something, then that opens up a lot of possibilities that are not available to civilians. But yeah, I would say for the most part, like probably, depending on how sensitive it was, you have to do a cost benefit analysis of what exactly the data was. You mentioned Regex earlier. Tried buying your stickers. Do you ship outside of Canada? Yeah, I think I selected like all countries. But yeah, actually, if you want, go ahead. You're going to be my first sale at the $2 mark, and then I'm going to relist them for $4. FrameWork 13 AMD costs around 1,000. And more RAM. Framework is meant to be modular. Yeah, I think they're probably, if you can install your components on other stuff, I think Framework is meant to be like easy mode. And they probably have guides and tutorials and stuff. If H doesn't materialize within 10 years, what would you need to still feel confident in life? Still content in life? We'll try to buy again. Had trouble ordering from phone. It's also possible that I set something up wrong. Yeah, actually, if you have, I'm probably going to call it a night soon. But if you have a problem ordering, if like it fails or something, because I did change some stuff. I changed like the domain, and so there's possibly some bug that will happen. Have you ever met a hacker who worked for the 3-letter agencies? I have not knowingly had a conversation with someone who is actively working at one of those companies, but I'm sure all the software developers and people that I've met there's people I know from school who I think went to work at one of those things. Yeah, the stickers should be possible to buy them, but if there's a bug, then if there's something's wrong with my store setup, that would explain why no one has actually purchased them yet. But anyway, I gotta get my sleep schedule more in order. Start going to bed earlier. I heard when you work for them, you start glowing in the dark. Yep, that's what happens. It's automatic. All right, have a good night, guys. We'll be back tomorrow for day 151. Later.